Peace, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Gedalia Ben Netzarim of How Music. I'm doing a review today on what I feel is the best DNA purchase for your dollar. People have to understand that your genetic breakdown and your genetic makeup, that's a cool DNA test to get. But if you're really into deep ancestry, because there's certain groups that are very tribal in nature, and it goes by your genealogy, your paternal line, or there's some tribes that are maternal in actual fact. So you want to find out your maternal line and your paternal line, and those are called haplogroups. And unfortunately, a test like Ancestry.com, you know, it's fun and it's interesting, but it does not give you that deep ancestry that a true genetic researcher would be looking for. So let me just give you a quick rundown on the companies. You got Ancestry.com, you got 23andMe, you got Family Tree DNA, and National Geographic's The Genome Project. Those are just the four main companies in my opinion. Let me start out with Family Tree DNA. Family Tree DNA, you have to buy the cheapest test possible, because if you buy a higher test and you don't have those markers, you're gonna lose all that money. You're not gonna get anything out of that. They pretty much take advantage of their customer, and you leave feeling like you didn't get your money's worth. And their website is terrible. It's garbage. It's not up to date. They need to really give the customer something for their money and keep all the information up to date. If somebody purchases 67 markers, but you only give them 12, at least try to compensate them. Give them Family Finder. Inform the customer saying, start out with the smaller kits. You shouldn't even offer the bigger kits to people. They're buying something that you're not gonna give them. That makes no sense. And then it's better to buy National Geographics, because you can upload your National Geographic's information to Family Tree. When you purchase from Family Tree, you can't go the other way. They say it's because you remain anonymous, which is a load of bull. Like, your website is so terrible and garbage that at least give the customer a little more interaction on another website that they can feel that they got their money's worth. Is it not about the customer? You guys are terrible. Seriously, very disappointed with Family Tree. I don't recommend it unless you're just buying your paternal or your maternal kit, and the cheapest one at that. Get the most basic kit, and you're gonna have to purchase it separate. You're gonna get the maternal line separate and the paternal line separate. They're pretty expensive. So if you're just looking for your maternal line, as far as females, I would suggest just to get your maternal line done through them, because that's all you're gonna be able to get. You cannot do a paternal line test. So just get the cheapest maternal line if you're a female. If you're a male, I would suggest just to do your paternal line, so you could get that information, unless you're looking for your maternal line. But you're not gonna pass that on to your sons or to your daughters, period. You're only passing your paternal genes on. So it's up to you. But I wouldn't suggest going to Family Trees to do your deep ancestry. If you're looking for deep results, they're not the company to go to. I would suggest today, the cheapest one is $150 is the National Geographic Nat Geo project. They do give you both of your groups. The only drawback is with them, it's anonymous, so you're the only one that's gonna know these results, which is maybe good for some people. They don't want everybody to know their business, so that's probably maybe an even better way to go about it. If you're looking for the anonymity, that's the company to go through. $150, and for the male, you'll find out both sides. And from what I was told, for the females, they do give you a little bit of your paternal DNA, which is really interesting. I haven't dealt with them. I have dealt with Ancestry.com. I have dealt with 23andMe, and I have dealt with Family Tree DNA. They're the only one out of the four that I haven't dealt with. But Ancestry.com, they do not give you your haplogroups. So Ancestry is definitely not the way to go. National Geographic is more the way to go. Family Tree, I guess if you want to go that way, but it's not really interesting. You have to understand these tests for different people. I would give different suggestions. I would suggest, as a man, you definitely would want to do 23andMe for $200. You'll get your whole genetic breakdown, and they'll give you your maternal haplogroup and your paternal haplogroup. But they do their DNA what's called autosomal DNA. So, I did a couple of different tests because I wanted to make sure that my information was correct. And through the grace of the Most High, hallelujah, I come back to be haplogroup T, which comes out of the K, which comes out of the F. And, I had to study a lot of DNA to really understand what this breaks down. And, some of these people out there, they're only telling you half of the story because certain groups are stuck in certain regions. So that means that they cannot fill the complete prophecy of being scattered to the four corners of the earth when their DNA is pretty much isolated to one continent, and then in the last 600 years between a span of 600 years, this DNA arrives on another continent. When what the prophecy is much older than that. When you're going back to Adam, you're going back to Noah, and so on forth. So, you have to look at a group like the CT. CT haplogroup was the paternal line that gave forth to the DE and the CF. That's 4 different groups right there. But if you look at a biblical character like Noah, he only has 3 sons. So where would you get 4 different groups out of 3? You would have basically a wild card where you see Japhet dwelling in the tents of Shem, and you will also see Shem dwelling in the tents of Ham. And that's why there's a lot of confusion with certain groups, people trying to classify them as Hamitic or Shemitic, and there's a lot of hassle. But I would say the D is definitely Asiatic from my understanding, so that would by result make the E also Asiatic. And people they'll be blown away by that. They say E is so common in Africa. How could you say that? But because I would say everybody's DNA, Ham, Japhet, and Shem were all the same thing as their father, CT. That's how DNA works. Your sons have the same DNA as you. So I would just say DE is obviously Ham and Shem, somewhere mixed in there. And then that would make CF. That would have to make it Japhet and Shem mixed in there, or Shem and Japhet. So I would say C is Japhet and F is Shem, or really Abraham, Father Abraham. This F group is considered F for the word father, that it says it has given birth to 80% of the men out of Africa. And if we study the biblical stories, people like Solomon, and we understand that Abraham was the father of many nations, you understand that we spread our seed out throughout the world and to the 4 corners of the earth. So you have to be able to hit up 5 continents, or at least 4 continents with your DNA. So you're only telling half of the story when you just break it down to one group. And that's why even the Jewish people have 21 groups that they classify as just Kohanim. So now can you imagine what they consider Jewish population DNA? That means that they probably have at least 30 different DNAs that they claim as being Jewish. Basically, I did my DNA test, and through the grace of the Most High, I come to find out that haplogroup T, which comes out of the F, which comes out of the K, and undeniably that's the Northern Kingdom DNA. If you study people like Solomon, like I said, you will understand that he had many wives and many nations, so that seed is scattered. And when you study ancient civilizations like the ancient Judites, understand that region, that they stood on the African plate tectonics, and then when some of the tribes fled south, those tribes went back into the heart of Africa. The majority of them, I would say, definitely went back into Africa, probably 80 to 90%. So this DNA, that's why it's considered African, because it stood on the African plate, being that it was from the kingdom of Judah. But Judah was not just E. Also T was found amongst Judah in the Bantu expansion. Do your research. So we have the Northern Kingdom, and that DNA spread out. And that was the primary stock that gave the Europeans the Hebrew female slave and the male slave also, but particularly the female slave, because she is the progenitor, or should I say the maternal lineage that sustained the European population. Do your research and figure this one out. Right there, building coliseums, slavery, servitude, harems, concubines, POWs. Do your research. If you read more, it will become more clear to you. Then you got the sojourners that have came into this, people that have took on the covenant. You gotta study Esther, Mordecai, understand the regions in which these people were, understand people's struggles. My grandfather was illiterate. My father was illiterate. My great-grandfather was illiterate. Going further back, I'm sure it's the same thing. All of my family was illiterate, I'm sure, going back. They were working the field in Puerto Rico. The Caribbean slave trade is older and was even more brutal than the North American slave trade. Do your research on blackbirding. 2 words, blackbirding, but they put it together as one. Blackbirding. Do that research right there. That fits the signs. My people were called Ibaro. That really sounds like Hebrew the last time I checked. My people are scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. You can find a remnant of us in Australia going back to ancient Aboriginals there. You can find a remnant of us in America. My ancestors were the black Aboriginals that made it to Australia, to Melanesia, Solomon Islands. The last time I checked, those is warm regions. They're not cold regions like Japhet dwells in. Japhet will dwell in cold regions. Last time I checked, Tasmania, Torres Straits are not cold regions. Last time I checked, Solomon Islands, Bougainville, definitely. Southeast Asia is not cold. Why you always talking about one little continent when we got a whole globe? I don't hear y'all ever talking about Melanesia. Y'all wanted to talk about melanin, but y'all don't want to talk about Melanesia. What are those 2 words break? Melanin and Asia. Why are we not talking about that? Why are we never talking about the Aboriginal peoples of Australia? Why do people like Dr. Ali Muhammad call his movement Aboriginal, whatever the case, and he don't know shit about Aboriginal? Pardon me, all praise to the Most High, but it's really frustrating when you see people perpetrating a fraud and they don't ever want to address true issues. They always want to deflect. If you don't want to talk about Rex 84 and the King Alpha plan, it makes me think that you're an agent. If you need to ask somebody permission to speak about something like Freemasonry, it makes you suspect. That goes for every single camp. If you don't see these guys talking about Rex 84 and the King Alpha plan, these guys are agents. If they signed 501c3s and they are not speaking on these issues, you need to really check your leadership. I could care less if they swear that they're the truth and they're the original and the first or whatever the case may be. But somewhere along the lines, obviously, things have deviated. This is just how I feel about this situation here. Brothers coming out the woodworks after hiding for mad years, and they still want to perpetuate the division of the nations. They just want to tell half of the story. For those brothers that want to swear that they're prophets, that they have the truth, that they are sent by the Most High to reveal this, that they're that egotistical to call people out of the New Testament false and Edomites, that they don't have the truth and swear that you do. The whole point of those scriptures is to say it doesn't matter if you're E1B, 1A. If you're not living righteous and about bringing God's peoples together, if you're not about that, it does not matter what your DNA is. You're done. You're done off. Straight damnation for you if you don't praise the Most High and understand that you don't got all the truth. You got what makes you feel comfortable, and that's not how it works. It's not about what makes you feel good. You could clearly see, go type in why DNA Near Eastern, and you tell me what's the first one on the list is E1B1A, and you tell me what the last one on the list is T. These people really need to really address the truth and stop hiding. Yeah, you want to just deviate around the E and the J. What about F? And on that note, I have to say peace. I'm signing off. Hallelujah. Check out the How Music. Check out Millions of People with the Brother Israel. Check out the whole album, Change the World, on SoundCloud. How Music. Eventually, everybody that's of Israel will come back home. And their appearance may not be what you expect it to be, but believe me, the spirit will waken you up. You may think you're this or you're that, but do your research and you'll find out that you come from black people, like it or not, and that Christ was black. And if you got a problem, you can't accept that, then that means this is not for you. It should not be a conflict in your soul when the truth is told. It should resonate inside you and just fortify you, make you stronger. Peace. Hallelujah.